And then you have that, and then you move on again to the next experience. And now you have two others that you've had. So you keep growing as you're going along. It's called wisdom. Alright? That's the mathematical expression of wisdom, is a recursive equation. So that's one way to understand that this processional cycle, this cycle to end all cycles, has harmonically wisdom built into it. For us as universal beings to incarnate on this planet and to gather the wisdom necessary for our souls. The energy is there for us to use that. The harmonics are there. Also, you can take the numbers and you go 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 3 plus 2 equals 19. 19 is a very important number. It's actually a mathematical expression of the goddess feminine energy. Okay, so the energies that we're moving into now is more feminine nurturing energies of creation. We're getting away from that male-dominated bastion type of energy of power, greed, ego, violence, control, all that sort of stuff. It's important that we all understand nurturing energies. It's due. It's well overdue, those energies. Okay, if we take this equation another step, we've gone 4 times 8 equals 32. If we go 8 times 32, all right, equals 256. Now the square root of 256 equals 16. That again is what's called a golden ratio number, golden mean. Now I apologise, I can't go through explaining what that is. It just isn't the time. I urge everybody to look into the golden ratio and the golden mean. When you understand what that is, you will be absolutely amazed. It is the harmonics of everything that exists in life. The shape of leaves, your body, the ratios of your hands to the distance between your eyes, everything's involved in what this is called the golden ratio. So it was imperative that it was involved with this equation. Also, 256 is a very important number because we have 2 magnetic grids on this planet, okay? And this is where physics and the flower of life gels together, okay? Everything that I'm explaining to you, everything that you read about in these spiritual books, the ascension process can be expressed through physics, okay? What they say is when matter and antimatter collides, they annihilate themselves, and all that's left is like a couple of showers of light, or just photon streams, okay? What really happens is, here you have your matter grid and your antimatter grid. Okay, there's 2 magnetic grids going around the planet, because it's balanced polarity, right? You need to have that. And when they collide, when you can bring the 2 together, you create what's called the Vesica Pisces. So in here, you have the Christed energy, you have the positive and the negative, and here you have the golden light, the Christ. Okay? Once you have that golden energy and you merge the 2 together, that then gives you the ability, right, to move in and out of realities. So what happens is when matter and antimatter collide, they merge the positive and negative side of polarity and they disappear into another dimension. That's what happens. And that's why they say they touch. And that ancient symbol, which is in just about every culture, of ancient culture in the world, this is it. This is explaining that. And that's the ascension process. We will take these 2 grids within ourselves, we will create the Vesica Pisces, we'll bring the 2 together, our matter and antimatter magnetic grids within our body embodiments, and we'll be able to merge the 2 and go off into another reality. Okay? Because you have your waves. Okay? And your first cycle is your positive cycle, and your second cycle is the negative cycle. Okay? In your sine waves, polarity. Okay? So we're compressing the 2 together. You bring the 2 together and then off you go. Disappear into another reality. That's basically what happens when matter and antimatter collide. Alright, so that matter grid and antimatter grid have a harmonic resonance. The difference between the 2 grids, right, the difference between them just happens to be 2, 5, 4, 5 harmonic. So this number correlates with that harmonic. It sits in between the two grids. It's kind of like a crossed harmonic, a golden harmonic. Measured at 1 geodetic inch. Okay? Because we're talking harmonics, so it's minutes of arcs and that energy. We're not interested in square centimetres. Okay? We're doing it another type of measurement here. So that shows how important this equation is. It just plugs in everywhere. It's plugged into the grid. It's showing you the feminine expression of the goddess energy, which is now coming through, and we have the recursive factor here. So the next step in the equation is going 32 times 256, and that equals 8192. That's an incredibly important number. Okay, if you put a line down the middle there and you put a couple of little pluses here, you have 911. So it gives you your 911 gateway. That's what 9 represents is the ending of the cycle. Okay, going through the two pillars of polarity. That's what it represents. And that's why those buildings were hit on that day. And that's why the emergency number for a certain country is that number. Because the establishment that controls things here wants as much fear around those numbers as possible in the psyche of the people. Okay? Because they're such important numbers. They just want fear around those numbers. And that's why Spain was hit exactly 911 days after the two buildings were hit. Okay? And for those in the mystery, exactly the same people that control the terrorists are exactly the same people behind the so-called coalition of the willing. There is no different, and I stand by this, and this is going on tape. This number also happens to be the harmonic of the acceleration of the speed of light on the planet, because light is not, it's not like a machine, it's not constant. It's a different speed at the equator than what it is at the poles. And so while we have here, I'll draw the equator, 0 degrees, okay. That is the number of the harmonic at 60 degrees latitude on our planet, is that number correlates, and it's 81918 is the harmonic involved there. Okay, very, very important number. And when you look at that numerically, also, 9 is the ending of the cycle between the two pillars of polarity, flanked either side by the infinite wisdom of God. Okay? Very, very powerful number, that one. And you think, well, gee, that's really amazing. 60 degrees, that kind of sounds familiar. 60 degrees, 6666. What's that number? That sounds familiar, doesn't it? 666. Gee, it's supposed to be an evil number, the number of the beast. No, they don't want you to go to there. That's why they say it's evil. Okay? Just about everything they say it's evil is because they don't want you to touch it. They don't want you to know about your serpent origins and the serpents and the roles they play. And they don't want you to know about the number 666. It is 60 degrees, 60 degrees, 60 degrees. It is the holy triangle of light. And we can do that for our beloved Freemason friends. Nah, they're good guys too. My father was a Freemason. It's all right. Okay? Just wish they'd listen to me a bit more. Okay? That's all right. I've got to love all the guys. You know, they've done a lot of good work. Look, there's only a tiny minuscule of people in that organisation that are evil. The rest of them are just beautiful beings doing a lot for the community. So it's not about judging really. All right. So basically, you now have 8192 or 81918 on each corner, and that is the unification, Holy Trinity, of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit in religious terms. That is the unification of all three, bringing all three in at the same time to combine and become one. The unification of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And again, that is westernised terms. Every culture can look at this and have their own words and their own terminology that they use for those same names. Okay, it's not about a one-eyed perspective. So now we take that into consideration. You think, okay, so you did mention before about the planetary light body, the planetary light vehicle being activated. So we go back to the global picture, and you have 0 degrees, 0 degrees, 30. Okay, so we set at 60 degrees, that's where the harmonic, so that forms the base. Now for an amazing thing. Okay. Alright, because it just so happens to form the base for the triangle. And there you have it. Okay? That harmonic will activate the planetary light body, the planetary light vehicle, also known as the Merkaba vehicle. Please don't think of this as a religious symbol or the symbol of a nation. Okay? Like I said, we're coming from beyond and above all that stuff. Okay? This is the energy of what is. You go, okay, so you've given us 24,832 years, but, you know, time is measured on a linear fashion, and you could say it could be anywhere along that timeline, okay? So what is it about a specific date? Okay, we'll move to that now, the actual date. 21st March 2013. That is when the cycle closes on the day, and that is the day that harmonic kicks into gear and activates the planetary light body. And when you write this date, rewrite it, you go 2103, as we write it here in Australia, and you go 2013. And that's interesting. You look at the 1, representing the whole, the oneness, has now moved across, and it's gone away from polarity, okay, and has moved into the Trinity. It's shifted across. Alrighty. You think, well, yeah, but that's still a bit how you're going. It's not really quite rock solid. We're dealing with harmonics, and we're dealing with symbolism. Pictures go beyond, they penetrate the veil of this reality. They go into the soul of the being. Okay? Every picture tells 1,000 words. It's very important that pictures and pictorial diagrams are used and monuments, very powerfully symbolic because there's mathematical measurements in them and what have you, sacred geometry, and they tell so much. They tell enormous stories. Okay? But when you look at it also, you can go 2 plus 1, 2 plus 1. So what that gives us now is 4 groups of 3. Okay? It's important to remember that. We now have 4 groups of 3. 4 groups of 3. So what's the number 4 so important? What we have, everything that makes up this reality that we exist in, and in other realities up until, like I said, the veil of the 7th dimension, where physicality loses itself and you become energy flows, okay, requires the culmination of what we call the 5 platonic solids. Okay? Depending on how you arrange your energy, your gases, your liquids and your masses determines the outcome of what gets manifested into physical reality. Okay, so what we have is what's known as the 5 platonic solids, and we have, the first one we say is the tetrahedron, okay, which is the energy, and the second one we have is the octahedron, okay, which is the gases, and we have the icosahedron, which is the liquid form, and we have the hexahedron, which is a cube, which represents the masses, the solids, and then we have the dodecahedron, which represents the intent, or the spirit. Okay? And I recommend everybody to look this up, because I can't go spending the time, it's a whole lesson of hours in itself. is to please look that up, because it's very important that you look at the golden ratio and you look at the Platonic solids. It'll give you a great understanding of how our reality is put together and the purpose of things existing, like a tree. You know, there's great consciousness that goes behind a tree and its existence and why it looks the way it does and expresses itself the way it does. And then you understand why you do. It's really important. So we had the 4. And you say, but you wrote 5 down, okay? So we'll go back to the circle and the cross again. Okay, and here we can go the tetra, the octal, the hexa, and the icosa can go there. Okay? And you go, well, where does the dodeca sit? Well, that sits right in the middle. The intersection of the cross is what represents the eternal ether. Okay? The eternal flame. So that is the spirit. Or, like I said, dodeca, or the intent. Sits there. Okay? And so the 4 groups of 3 are the 3. So the energy, 81918. Okay? So you have the energy, the gases, the liquids, and the solids, everything that manifests this reality into being, governed by the eternal ether, okay, the eternal spirit of God. On that day of March 21, 2013, will be unified into the golden light, and this reality, this planet and everything on it and in it, will lift up into that 5th dimensional bubble holograph frequency and exist in the golden age, what we call the golden age that is coming. The Sphinx, how it ties in with the precession of the equinox, it's a marker to mark the beginning of the cycle. What's happening now, the Sphinx will come back into action. Now they talk about the capstone and the pyramid and the capstone that's missing. Okay, that's what that diagram is about. That's the capstone. Okay, and the beings from Sirius. That's who we are. We are the ancient Egyptian culture who came here and started things quite early in the piece. We are now going to come back and reactivate these monuments and bring them back into their glory. You will see them in their beautiful state, the original state that they were in. We've been negotiating with the governments here for decades. Really. The ancient cultures have known about extraterrestrial life. It's written in every culture. The extraterrestrial life has been known throughout the ages from time immemorial. It has never not been a part of reality here until a group comes here and decides to enslave the people of this planet in imposed ignorance. That's why you have movies like Independence Day. So if our big spacecraft are seen in the skies, everyone's going to get scared. They're brainwashing the people. Okay? It's very important to understand the brainwashing that's going on. Now, Stargate, for example. Yeah, that's just amazing, you know. Why is it all the ancient Egyptians, the Syrians, are the evil beings, and the American military are the good guys again? And they can go out with their guns to all these planets throughout the cosmos, righting all the wrongs of the cosmos. I mean, it's just crazy, you know? As if you turn up to another planet with a gun that fires bullets, for example. We're coming anyway, because there's a lot of beings that need to get picked up. If you have a light being and they're standing in front of the wave, the tidal wave, we'll quickly zap them up before they know it. We can get from here to Sirius in 2 to 3 minutes. Right? We operate, our ships are Merkaba vehicles. Okay? They're not made from nuts and bolts and rivets and all that. They're light vehicles. They're sentient beings, okay? Okay, that's what our ships are. Okay, when you hop on board our ships, you are connected as one with that being, with that ship. Okay? You know each other intimately. And it zaps from here to there at the speed of thought. Okay? Instantly. So any fear that anybody has in here should be eradicated. Okay? Because if you are a light being and you're supposed to be in the golden age, you'll be picked up and everything will be fine. And you'll be picked up by your own people. It won't be foreigners. You won't get on there and it'll be a bunch of aliens. It'll be your extraterrestrial race, your people. We have all the races out there sitting and waiting. If you were able to drop the veil and see the amount of ships that are out there, you would freak out, completely freak out. Okay? So that's get the fear out of your system. You will be picked up. It's free will. If a ship turns up, because we're conditioned, like it's one thing to say it intellectually, but when you stand there and there's a ship hovering above you, that's a different story altogether. You know, then that programming of fear comes out. So make sure that you get that out of your system and think, if a ship turns up, I'm not going to be scared. Because it's one thing to have an intellectual concept of the experience, it's another thing to live it. Okay? You've been brought up in a society that's programmed you with fear on that subject. And it's very important you get over it. Very important. I can't tell anybody what to do. I just feel it's important that you all follow in here, to follow what you feel you need to do. Okay, we all have natural talents that we're good at. We all have reasons for incarnating. I think it's important you get in touch with that and follow that. Like I'm saying to you, to understand who I am as a being standing up here before you, sharing all this with you, I ask for you to go in here, into the heart centre, and understand who I am, whether I'm real, whether I'm the real deal here. It's important that you do that. Don't take my word for gospel. Don't take anybody's word for gospel. From now on, get into the practice of discerning with your heart chakra. Okay, that's where truth is. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.